Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla, here to talk to you today about Denali 2.0 auxiliary lights. You should be checking out a set of Denali lights if you're looking to see things better in the dark. Now, Denali is cranking these out, and they're a reasonably universal light. You should know, however, they do have some fit-specific items, so it can make sense to look at these as potentially bike-specific, but also know, too, that from just an installation standpoint, generally speaking, auxiliary lights are somewhat universal. Now, installation on these is going to range just a little bit. I'm going to say, on average, we're probably looking at 2 beards on our beard scale of difficulty in terms of installation, hardness, so to speak. Most of you are going to have a pretty easy time getting these on your bike. However, it is a lot of times the detail on an electrical project that matters. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. First, though, let's jump right into the Denali 2.0s and talk about what makes these sort of a nice evolution from previous offerings. So when we kick right out here, of course, obviously Denali has got these lights up here. You'll notice these are all LEDs. LEDs offer a number of benefits. Less electrical draw. We're also looking, too, at probably a little bit more consistent light output. A lot of people, too, tend to find the temperature a little bit better for actually lighting things up and seeing what's actually on the road ahead of them. Now, when we look at these, there's been a number of changes. The first one right off the bat is we've got a new chip driving these LEDs. 20% increase in lumens versus their predecessors. That's pretty nice. The other thing that chip allows, too, is what Denali is calling their data dim technology. Believe it or not, these LEDs are actually dimmable. These can actually run in 2 different intensities. That's not always a possibility with LED style lights. However, with an external controller, you can actually run dual intensities on the data dim equipped lights. Now, one of the other things you should know, too, is there's been a little bit of work done, too, as far as lenses are concerned. You may read about their Optic Lenses, and what that is basically is a lens that's going to give each of these lights a little bit different function. So if you're looking at a couple of these here, not everything is equipped with that tri-optic technology, but what it does is allows 3 different beam patterns. It really offers some versatility for these lights. So you have your light kind of scattered in a number of different ways, in a number of configurations, and you can even get dual patterns within the same lamp. Kind of a neat feature. One of the other things you should know about, too, lens-wise, is that these are also available in an amber style lens should you want to change color or perhaps use something for a fog purpose. Now, all that having been said, the thing that really kind of sets these apart is that they're great lights, and there's a price tag to go with them, but one of the things I think that you can really sort of appreciate if you see is actually the build quality and construction on here. It's one of the things that's probably most basic when it comes to light construction. However, I want to run through a couple of things here. You'll notice around the lens, we've got a silicone gasket sealing that thing in. It means this thing is going to be very, very waterproof. Sort of sticking with that theme, if we move over to the back end of this, you can see this thing's been sawn in half here. Notice all of the potting. So potting is sort of the term for the stuff that seals up the electrical connection at the back of the housing. Notice here you see the potting all inside here, and then we've also got it external to the chassis itself. Again, going to be very, very waterproof. These things are going to be all but submersible. So one of the other things that's kind of neat, too, is if you're looking at this, you can see all this metal here. This is just a big chunk of aluminum. These things are built solidly. It's not the chintzy stuff you find down at the auto parts store. These are actually really nicely made housings. Now, if we flip this thing around, you'll see the fins and the ribs on here. You'll see it on some of the other lights we've got up here. That finning and ribbing is actually integral. It's not just providing structure for the housing, but what it's also doing, too, is helping keep these things cool. LEDs can run hot, especially when they're driven hard, so it does help dissipate heat away from the chassis of the light itself. Now, moving into installation, as I had mentioned, these are fairly universal. It's going to be a very similar hookup if you've ever installed aftermarket lights before. However, things are going to vary from bike to bike. Again, if Denali does have any products that, again, that are based specifically for your model of bike, installation will be eased just a little bit. One of the things that is really nice here, as you can see, there are really nice terminal ends on here. The wiring for this setup really is kind of a breeze. It's very nice. They've incorporated sort of better wiring. You're not just getting a whole big stack of stripped wires with this. Now, like I had mentioned, too, the details really do count on an electrical project. If you've never done electrical before, this can be a pretty good starting point. There's not too much here that's mission critical. There's not really much risk of damage to anything. So again, I think most people are going to have an easy time with this, even folks who are a little bit newer to wiring. Just keep in mind that detail stuff does matter as far as where you're actually running your wires, the actual electrical work you need to perform, cabling, crimping, etc. etc. All of that's going to sort of play a pretty important role in how nice your end product winds up looking. All that having been said, I really like these. These are super cool lights. Some folks I ride with actually have these equipped on their motorcycles. I've been very impressed with them. Yes, they are expensive. However, I think that Denali certainly earns every single dollar they're asking for on these. Don't take my word for it. However, read some rider reviews, see what some folks who are rocking a new 2.0 rig on their bike have to say about it. Now, if you need a little bit more individualized attention, perhaps some installation or selection help, don't be afraid to get in touch with one of our very friendly gear geeks. 877-792-9455 will get you a geek on the telling bone, or of course you can always drop us an email. See us at RevZilla.com. I'm Lem. I'm out of here.